All right, here's how we're using the Vaydeer 4-key specialty keyboard with preset keys for quickly editing bulk scans and slide scans. So up on the screen is the menu for the keyboard. You program the keyboards to have the keys. So for instance, the first keyboard is it's programmed for Shift F11 and Control to all be hit at the same time if you hit that key. The second key is Shift F10 and Control. So what we've done is within Photoshop, um, the uh, find a file real quick. The Actions menu, we have preset the commands. So for instance, a 2% crop, which changes the canvas size. We've set the keyboard shortcut for that to be F11, Shift, and Control. So whenever the key is hit, it's going to hit F11, Shift, and Control, which will cause this action to take place. And the four actions that take place are, again, the 2% shift, the rotate 90 degrees, and an auto level. The fifth button is to load the next file using Mike D's autoloader. So the way that works is at the very beginning when we go to set to do a folder, we go to Scripts, correction, we go to Automate, and then you have to set up the autoloader. The very first time you hit a folder, you do this, and then to load the next, to save the file you're working on and load the next, it's called autoloader next, which in this case is F5. You set that within the preferences of Photoshop, and that way you can program the specialty keyboard to do that set, which is to save the file and then load the next. The autoloader, you tell it what folder you want to use. In this case, we'll just use the desktop. You tell it whether to load JPEGs, TIFFs, PSDs, or specialty sets of that. You could just do the JPEGs in a folder. You can have it do a action immediately upon loading. For instance, if we're doing slides, we're almost always going to do a 2% crop. So we just go ahead and have it do that when it loads. And then we can do additional cropping. But in this case, we have it, if we're doing a bulk scan, we won't have it. So we can just uncheck that, load this, do that action immediately. You tell it where you want to save the files. If you want to save it into a subfolder called corrected or adjusted or whatever, you can do that. Tell it how you want to save the file, again, JPEG, 12 or PSD or TIFF or however you want. If you have two people doing a folder at the same time, one of them can do load the files in reverse order, which means it'll start at the bottom of a folder, while the second person loads it with this. One will load it with it checked, one will load it with it unchecked, and you'll actually work from either end of the folder until you meet in the middle, which is great if you've got two people doing this and you've got a really large folder with a couple hundred files. The turbo mode is just adds to the speed of how quickly it loads. Again, once all of those are set, you would go ahead and save and close, and then you go to Automate, Autoloader Next. For some reason, the keyboard does not work for the very first file, so you have to do it the very first file. Once you do that, as soon as you hit that, in our case, it's the fourth button, it will save the file and load the next. So it'll immediately load a file, and then you will crop it, and then then you'll auto level it, And then if the file needs to be rotated, it'll rotate it 90 degrees. So if it's upside down, you have to hit the button twice. And then you hit the fourth button, which is save and load the next. So you don't actually use the mouse in this situation. You can actually do most of the folder without using the mouse. Of course, if you're watching, hopefully you're watching as you're doing this, you might see one that needs additional cropping on just one side or something special. Then you can always grab the mouse and keep and make changes, and then end with hitting that last button, that F5. Hope that helps.